Hey Gundam Maniacs, welcome to another episode of Gundam Explained. In this episode, I'm going to dive into the history of the mobile suit, and I know I've kind of done that in the past, but this is something very specific. Our very own Santo Bell has shared with me a manga I didn't know about called Developers, and this actually goes through kind of the early Zeon development and look into mobile suits. So yeah, let's jump in. Hey, but before we get started, if you haven't, please subscribe. And as you're watching this video and you think it's pretty cool, give it a like. And then check the links in the description for the Discord. Pretty cool place to hang out. We've got some moderators there to keep it safe. But yeah, let's get started. All right, I'll include the link in the description. But yeah, this is just another manga website that has translated manga, which it's really cool if you think about it. So many things that people can't enjoy, because of the language barrier, even though you can look at the artwork. But to have it translated is a blessing. So thanks to all that that did that. So this manga is called Developers: Mobile Suit Gundam Before the 1-Year War. The author Yamazaki Hosui. From the description, years before the 1-Year War, Zionic Co. was developing a new type of piloted robots, later became mobile suits using thermonuclear reactors shielded with Minovsky particles as the power source. For safety and secrecy reasons, the project was outsourced to Hoshioka, a small steelworks which looked ridiculously lousy at the first sight. So, yeah, we're going to dive into this a little bit here. And something to keep in mind is we've also got some mobile suit history within Zeon from the origin, and it is a little different. So as we go through, I'll point that out. Now, I think from what I've learned going through UC Gundam is a lot of times the manga and the animation canon is separate, but things that aren't contradicting, you can, play within your head to, I guess, assume certain things occurred. I don't know what I'm trying to say here exactly, but it's just interesting because Origin, the animation itself, also contradicts some of the original 0079. So from here, I would just like to take it as different variations of things that could have occurred. It's just cool to kind of see different ideas for early mobile suit development. So it starts with showing birth, MS-05 Zaku. And, I'm not going to read through all of this, but again, link in the descriptions, translated, it's amazing. But here we go. We're kind of showing it. They're calling it Unit 2. And it's supposed to be, according to this, the MS-05 Zaku. So if we were to look at that, the only options we seem to have in the wiki are the MS-05A, Zaku 1 early type as being one of the originals, but there is an MS-04. Now, this even says it's in developers, so this manga we're looking at. So I find that interesting. They're calling this the MS-05, but the MS-04 is what is in developers, because if we look at MS-05A, Zaku 1 early type is a little different. As we get through the manga, they're showing where they're like testing it out. So this is pretty cool, seeing what's potentially, in the colony. We see the truck bed we're used to, and we see the worker Zaku. And I think we've seen something like that floating around. There's been some mangas and everything, and in Origin as well. And so yeah, there's some story going on around here. We see that it fell over, and they're showing it get up. And I kind of like the way this looks if you look at it. You see how the hands are more like claws. It's built initially more for working and stuff. And in this manga, they even dive into through Giran Zabi, kind of taking the mobile suit and developing it for war. Now, what's interesting about that, and this is something I might have to dive into more to understand, is in the Origin animation, Dozo Zabi was kind of leading that front. He was interested in piloting the mobile suits that work, or maybe fitting it for war and everything. And here they're showing the AMBAC system, active mass balance auto control system. And it's just showing some little drawings here of the mobile suits. So that's something cool to understand about mobile suit technology, when getting into Gundam and seeing that mechs are being used, but mechs that are very bipedal in terms of looking very humanoid. You kind of wonder how practical that is. And just think nowadays, everything that's about machine learning and AI, and even, I remember it was F-91 when Seabook was trying to pilot the F-91, and they're saying, just guide it naturally so the hand would just go and pick up the gun. I think a lot of that is part of the technology. It's not necessarily spoken on all the time. So to think about that, for a pilot in a mobile suit, there's a degree of this AI control that is occurring, and that is not only in gravity but in space. It oriented to what the pilot would be wanting to do as it is piloting, maneuvering in battle, in space, etc. And so, if we were to take that wiki of the MSO4 prototype Zaku, and we click Origin, it takes us to this, which does indeed look a bit different, but it still kind of maintains that look of, kind of being more of a worker unit, kind of the first stage of evolution going into the modern Zaku mobile suits. Interesting. This one's called the Bugoo. And also interesting because yeah, Ramba Ral was one that during the origin animation, they had reached out to him to see if he wanted to help. And yeah, they fitted him with mobile suit training because yeah, it is interesting when you think about the original mobile suit Gundam and the Zaku's being in use. Then all of a sudden, this guy Ramba Ral shows up. That's a badass. And the thing is, what this origin does is kind of show the history of him learning how to use a mobile suit that he can be effective in battle with. So that's pretty cool. So if you're taking in this developer's manga to kind of get some preliminary information of mobile suit development, also make sure you're checking out the origin. And again, while there may be some differences and they kind of contradict each other, it's still going down the kind of the same path of what kind of occurs during the 1 Year War. And so for that early mobile suit, they actually used Zara Al Sad for development of the thermonuclear reactors. This was the main way to really power a mobile suit during that time. Before what we see later on with the Minovsky reactor, etc. Oh, very cool little bit of trivia I'm seeing here. I was just looking at the Ramba Ral custom Bugoo. I guess it could be either one, but the point is, it shows known pilots as Cuckoo's Doan. So, really cool that that's been added in. Just some more, again, background information for a character that didn't have that much before, and how it coincides with early mobile suit use. Because remember, Cuckoo's Doan was very formidable in a mobile suit, and how could he have, with the limited time mobile suits have been out? Well, he was there from the beginning. It just some neat detail they're going into as they're talking about how the parts would be taken to the factory. It would then be assembled, and it would walk itself to the next dock. So kind of cool to see that much background information about the early mobile suit development. And it's really cool because they're just testing in the cockpit, the piloting, and they're looking through the data of the various usage of the mobile suits. Because remember, a lot of times in mobile suit development, they will take data from other mobile suits to integrate into future ones. And this is interesting because they see this G Zabi, and he's like, someone from the Zabi family used a simulator? There's no way, right? So this is where we're kind of seeing, again, in this manga, they show this where the Zabi family is integrating themselves within the MS development because they see how it could be used to be weaponized, leading to the 1 Year War. And so going through this, we're seeing some sort of potential politics occurring here. Saying after completion of the prototype, they're being completely cut from the MS development project and let go as a subcontractor. I wonder if this means they're fully integrating into like Zeonic, so that this is where I guess they're going to push forward with the militarization of the mobile suits. But they were showing off the computer chips here, or the microchips, and their Game Boy Advance carts, which I think was a pretty cool touch here. Yeah, if you can recognize that, yeah, totally Game Boy Advance carts. I mean, just really cool artwork as I'm going through this, where we're seeing the mobile suits used in context other than for war and for battle. I just like the functionality and how we're seeing everything being used, and we can see the evolution of that when we look at how the mobile suits are being used during the 1 Year War and after. And so going back to this MSO4 prototype Zaku, that was supposed to be the start of the project. One thing to keep in mind, 0074. So it was 79 when really the war was really in the main stages. So it's interesting to see how many years Zeon, the Republic of Zeon had, or the Principality of Zeon rather, had to train pilots using the mobile suits, because we do hear about a lot of cool ace pilots that come out of the 1 Year War. So this gives more context for that, that you can have these incredible pilots when mobile suit development was still very early on. And then I think that's why it was such a big deal for the Federation to have someone like Amuro Ray piloting a Gundam, because then we have a new type that is able to sort of make up for the lack of experience that the Federation had for pilots piloting mobile suits during that time. And then we get to the MSO5B, which again, we're seeing the moniker's a little different between manga and even animation, but the MSO5B was supposed to be the one that was first created for sort of the intent of mass producing them as weapons. And then that's when we get to the MSO6A Zaku 2 first mass production type. So I love the real type markings on stuff like this. But anyway, it's just really cool how we're kind of seeing, the development history, but it still seems a bit muddy if you were going to go with either based on the animation, what is that development history, or based on the manga, what is development history, and within the animation, then you have the two sides. So I have to personally think, you know what, let's not make that a big deal. It's just me where I'm fascinated by canon and by things being consistent, but I've learned to enjoy where I can get some information from a manga, get some from an animation, and it not really bother me too much. All right, and within the manga, some other cool information. So Universal Sensory Utility Machinery. In order to move out into space, humanity began developing giant utility machinery and robots. The culmination was the MS. A lot here I'm not going to read, but I love looking over here on the left-hand side. Okay, I messed that up. Okay, this is pretty cool. Left-hand side here, we see this. Thought to be the first MS developed by the Earth Federation military, like the gun tank, has a canopy in the head. Details unknown. A middle MS used for transporting cargo in the Zeon homeland. An identical model with arms is used by Lee military. A junior MS developed on the moon. It was developed after researching mobile suits, so it's not necessarily large. Okay, all right, so 70, Principality test giant bipedal machines. 73, Principality completes weapon model 1, MSO1 named mobile suit. So the first mobile suit that was weaponized was called mobile suit. Okay, that is interesting. So within 0073, close to the beginning of the year, they secretly contact that subcontractor we were talking about. They establish a radiation-proof work area, explore methods of communication under Minovsky particles. Data is used as an example in Mobile Training Battalion. So by the time we get to 0074, Principality Military rolls out Minovsky model MS-05, powered by nuclear fusion reactor. So it's cool that we're actually seeing a more specified timeline, but it would be cool to go back and look in Origin to see how much is similar. All right, just showing some basic facts of the original, kind of mobile suit they're working on. Manipulator is what they call the hands with the fingers. It's kind of like that claw looking thing. Footwork, nimble footwork. As a result of Zeonic's thorough research of human bipedal movement and their well-timed implementation of the Zaku's legs, combined with land cell veneers, can propel the 70-ton class body into the air and boast a ground speed of 120 km under 1G. It can move freely both inside and out of the colonies. Rigorous inclines are no problem. It can climb even a 3,000-meter mountain to the port. Powerful magnets under the feet protect the pilot from centrifugal forces on the outside colony wall. Simple actions. Movement of the head block, arm blocks, leg blocks, and such is made possible through 2 levers and a combination of buttons. Movement speed is regulated by foot pedals. There are no blind spots in the mono eye, and body subcameras, and the mobile suit automatically decides and projects the necessary images. So yeah, we're seeing really a lot of AI being used without it saying that exactly, but that's what's going on here. That's pretty cool. So anyway, that's really about it. I wanted to look at this manga, this developer's manga. Again, link for it in the description because I think it I haven't read it all yet, but so far what I've been going through is just giving some cool background information. Not only the politics, when the Zabi family steps in during, seeing the manufacturing of this mobile suit, and, I want to revisit this along with Origin to see if maybe they do complement each other and not necessarily contradict each other. Because I would like to have a more standard, like, story of when mobile suit development started, then when it became integral to battle and war. And then, yeah, from there, we get all these crazy mobile suits we have. So, thanks for watching. Please give this a like if you thought it was pretty cool and check the links in the description. Again, for this manga, but also for the Discord, which is a lot of fun. And there's a Patreon, and there's some Patreon perks too if you're interested in supporting the channel. This way, I can do the 3 videos a week that I try to do, and we have our live stream as well. But anyway, thanks for watching. We'll talk later.